Welcome to the Homegrown Masterclass series powered by Z by HP and Intel, with leading creative and innovation changemakers from India. HGAcademy focuses on connecting India's leading innovators and creators with consumers to hone their skills, find solutions to solve problems, and create new formats of learning, both online and offline. I will be introducing Mehek after this AV. So, Mehak Malhotra is a designer and visual artist working as the founder and CEO at Mumbai-based visual art studio Giggling Monkey Studio. She recently graduated from National Institute of Fashion Technology, getting the Best Graduation Award. She was awarded 25 under 25 by Campus Diaries, VH1 and TATA Nano in the year 2016 at the age of 20. She speaks about visual arts and design at various colleges across India. She will be hosting a masterclass today on multidisciplinary creative expressions about how design exists across mediums and how to make the maximum of each medium.
Hi guys, I'm Mehak Malhotra, and today we are going to be talking about creativity in its boundless mediums of different ways of expressing it and not restricting yourself to a canvas. If you imagine and if you go back in time, for a long period of time, we all existed on this planet without knowing if it was a round planet or a flat planet, and eventually people found out. But that entire idea didn't restrict anybody from creating things. If you look at it from a point of view where imagine having a photo frame already imagined, where you're already going to click a picture and put it there. So I think people don't usually work that way. And this is one way of understanding how creativity should not be bound by mediums or by your canvas. Um, Now, if I had to break down the word creativity in the most easiest and in the most simplest way, it's basically the activity of creating something. And it doesn't have to be something that is going to lead to something eventually. It can be the entire process of discovering and finding out what you want to be doing while you reach that endpoint. And for me, creativity is just, it's not a process, or like it's not a way to reach somewhere. It's a way of being, and it's a way of living. And I think this presentation might encourage us all to live a little more creatively in our everyday lives. Now we can be creative in different ways, and I strongly believe that lazy people are the most creative people, because they tend to solve problems that nobody usually spends time thinking about. Speaking about that, when you are trying to solve a problem, you can be creative. One way of looking at it is, imagine during this pandemic situation when all of us were using these disposable masks, somebody thought of an idea where they were like, okay, we need to sort of halt that waste that we've been, we've been creating piles of. So somebody said, let's make cloth masks. And that was an idea that was born out of the need of looking at a better solution to this entire situation. The next thing is being creative in the way of creating an easy environment around you, or like an eased out way of just being. For example, there's this projector ad that I got on my social media once. That was this projector that projects on the ceiling. That means you don't have to sit down and watch something on your screen. So I think that is one thing that somebody was creative about inventing. Something that just literally doesn't have to be held in your hand. You can literally sleep and watch something that's happening on your ceiling. You can be creative with your ideas. Now, as a design studio, we get a lot of briefs where somebody wants to put across a product in a way which reaches an audience, also puts across the idea of what the product is and what they want to create. So, how do you create these things? And for example, a music festival. Now, a music festival is basically performances. Now, advertising that or marketing that or creating creators for that means trying to create something that's going to reach an audience through posters, videos, games, even like the venue of the place has to be decorated in a way. So that is one way. And messages. Messages, again, we're all creative with send messages to our parents, our crushes, our clients about asking for money or asking people out by knowing when to use emojis and when not to use emojis. That's one way of looking at it too. My name is Mehak Malhotra, and I am not related to anybody in Bollywood. I end up looking like that most of the days, but when people imagine me as a multidisciplinary artist, they often imagine me having four eyes and looking at the world in a different perspective through this entire way of looking at life. When I say that I like being creative in my everyday choices, if I'm having a bad day, I would like to cook a nice breakfast on really nice, pretty plates and everything. And it just brings me joy to see this entire thing. Today, 2020 kind of manifested itself, and this entire dish rack, which holds all of these plates, sort of collapsed down and broke by induction and everything. So, yeah, 2020 definitely sucks. And I've often been in a place where I've had to reinvent myself to look at life in a new way. That's me with the broken arm still smiling and looking at the things I can do after it's healed. So this is what I am in a nutshell. And this is a creative introduction for anybody who wants to take a closer look at that. I'm from Dehradun, which is 27 hours away from Bombay. It's a small town. Now, growing up in a city where you don't actually know the difference between design and art and fine art and art as a hobby, we didn't really know that there were different fields of art or even design, like commercial arts. There was graphic design, there is art direction and production design, and all of these things that I didn't know existed till I actually left the city to come study this. And this sort of worked in my advantage because I never thought of a field that I wanted to specifically master. So it allowed me to sort of flirt with everything that I liked. And I did art direction, I did styling, I worked with some architects, and this allowed me to look at the world in a way where I was not bound by my creative title. And this is something that I didn't have to unlearn to sort of expand my horizon. The one basic thing that all of us can do to sort of expand the mediums that we use is unlearn one medium that we're really stuck to. These are the things on the top of my head that I think that I do and I dabble with. And these are the things when I have to sort of even more things that I keep thinking about the things that I'm capable of doing, and I don't want to end the list anywhere. because I like to believe the idea that I could try doing everything that there is. And if I'm not that great at it, at least I tried to know what it was and did fail at it, but I did try it. So that's a great way of understanding how you can actually have the courage to try different mediums. The idea is to basically unlearn what a canvas is. For a lot of people, a canvas can be a book cover. It can be an actual canvas. It can be a digital poster, a packaging, an app, etc. But the idea is to go back from wherever you're trying to reach towards the end and just look at the entire process in a way where you can have a different outcome. This might allow you to overcome creative blocks, because when you're looking at a product where you need to reach a certain end, you end up blocking your thoughts from all other like ideas that are coming in. For example, if we're working on a music video, how do you come out of that entire idea that, okay, you need a budget, you need a set, you need all of these things to do it. But then if you know that there's a way of reaching there without actually spending that much money, I'm going to be telling you how we did something like that later in the slides. But that's the idea. Just forget you have a canvas and start creating. You'll eventually reach a place where you will have a canvas to create something. um, my main aim, or like my main motivation to do anything, is to just explore the magic of creating things, of um, not solving problems, but like actually coming up with things that you can just actually make something. How magical is that? Like the entire idea of making things. um, this was a part of my graduation project. Now when you're going to a venue and you see a wall like this is for this festival called the Big Spot, and that literally means when people occupy a broken building and create art inside it. And when I had to decode that entire word and the meaning, I had to get a lot of people to help me paint this. Now, to translate that idea, we have digital tools to like sort of translate that idea. I made this on Photoshop, and then we projected this. We tried getting these colors as close as possible, and we did achieve that. Like people who never painted were also involved in the process of doing this. So my canvas, usually being a digital one, now became like a physical building that was painted with a mural, and that was pretty cool at that time. This was for Big Spot, and this was about 3 years ago, I guess. Now, this is one of my first ever projects that I did, and I didn't reach here because of a sketch. This is a very interesting way of working around. If you see the logo closely, it's actually the shape of a wine glass when you pour wine in it. Now, the name of the bar is the bar cat. So I imagined if we pour wine into a glass, it can go around and make the shape of a cat. And this was an idea that I translated into this logo, and it was an action that actually caused the inspiration behind this entire thing. This is a brand that we worked on during the pandemic, and it's something that's pretty close to my personal aesthetic of using really bright colors. The idea is to understand when somebody is coming to you with a problem or with a design, like a block on their brand, and they want you to sort of explore what can be done with their brand. You don't necessarily have to uproot what it stands for to make it designed or like make it more finessed. Here in this particular example, what we did was we literally just picked up the elements that were so core to the brand and created like a language that was easier to understand and reach the right target audience. Now, I know this would work is because people click on highlights when they can read what it's about. Maybe I do because I'm lazy. But when you actually see the name of the brand in the logo, it makes it easier for you to recall. And this is just an example of that. This is probably my most favorite slide in the entire presentation. And as designers, a lot of us look at the entire world as like we have to solve all the problems, we have to come up with solutions and make people's lives easy. And when I look at it from the perspective where I didn't really know what design was versus what art is, it's to create something that brings beauty to the world. And how I sort of want to combine both of those learnings is that you just don't have to create something in order to solve a problem. You can create something that brings value to what we already have and what we already live with. And that sort of takes away a lot of pressure that you put on yourself while being a designer in today's world. This is Raghav, who's climbing a tree. He's a friend of mine. So Raghav had an idea. He was on social media and he saw some stuff that I was making back in 2018. I don't know if anybody's actually seen this. This is way back, and this is the first ever matchbox that I made. And this was made with the idea of me sort of putting together, like ranting about things and putting together my ideas about how being an artist is like owning a gun. It's that dangerous, it's that lethal, it's that important, and it's that responsibility that you feel is real, and you must create something that shouldn't like shoot somebody. So this is one of those works, and this is one more. It says what it says. This just came from a place where I wanted to create things which were just personal, and eventually it evolved to this, which was more refined, more proper, more designed actually. Yes. Now we put Raghav on a green screen with without really realizing he has green eyes. And we didn't have the money to actually rent out a full studio to do this. So we rented like a photography studio and we borrowed a camera from a friend and we shot this video. And then we realized that, okay, Raghav's eyes are green. And when you're removing the green screen behind him, his eyes are going as well. So now we had to sort of creatively solve that problem. So since I was drawing in every frame in this particular video, it made it easy for me to draw in Raghav's eyes. But I took that lesson from there that you must see the eyes of the person that you're working with so you can avoid keying out their eyes itself. These are some of the screen grabs from the video itself. Now, if you pay close attention to all of them, you're going to start seeing small Easter eggs that were put everywhere throughout this video because this song was about something very important. And because the name of the album is Songs from a Matchbox, we try to keep it as abstract, as real to the entire concept of it being what it is. And matchboxes carry a lot of hidden messages if you haven't seen, and they were used for secret passing away secret messages during the World War, and that's very interesting. So all of these matchboxes have these hidden messages. I make sure that I end up putting either my name or my birth date somewhere in all the work that I create. You can go back and start looking for it, and if you find it, we'll see what we can do about it. But we never did this before. We didn't know that we were capable of making a music video all by ourselves. Like we were three people and we did this. And once it was done, we were blown away out of everything else. Like we were just like, wow, we were capable of doing this. Why did we ever think that we were not? Why did we ever think that we can't do this because we don't have a full camera crew and everybody? Having experts is amazing, but that shouldn't stop you from creating something. And I think you can go ahead and experiment and fail at things as well because you're going to learn something at the end of it. Now, once we felt like, wow, we did this, we didn't stop at that. We realized that we can do more and learn more and make bigger things. Like we made this video for Kenny Sebastian, and this was like a dream come true. We were blown away with the idea that somebody who's so amazing at what they do would want to work with us to create a music video which is animated. Now, usually when you look at the bigger picture, people usually don't notice these things. But somebody on YouTube did. And you were like, wow, people are actually noticing design that exists on these things, which was crazy. This is a very important slide. Now that all of us have come on this workshop through different social media platforms, I think a lot of us restrict ourselves to a 1:1 ratio of making something. And at the end of the day, as much as you can pre-plan what you'd put in that square, I think you're also throwing out ideas that are beautiful and can sort of fit outside this box. And literally now it means to think outside this 1:1 box to create things that matter and are amazing. Um, some projects that you create are going to get shelved and they will never see the light of the day. I don't know if I said that right, but I tried saying that. Now, this is a project we did with the designer, and this didn't go through. Eventually, we sort of applied a similar idea to another person, and they loved it, and it went through. So you can always reuse your ideas that have gone into some wasted effort and repurpose them, and that's what it means to think in different disciplines of design. Now, some days you can actually rip off a piece of paper and actually photograph your own typewriter and megaphone and make an event poster out of that, because you know what the messaging is and you are creative with the idea of putting that messaging across. And this was literally like the guitar I had at home, the vinyls, like this was made completely at home. And it was just the idea of using the things around you to translate the idea that you have in a more creative way. Now, when I'm going to end this particular slideshow, I'm just going to, keep leave this thought with everybody. You should not be resizing your ideas so that they fit into anything like a canvas or or a post on some social media. You should always keep your ideas big. You should dream big. And then if you have to translate it to a smaller canvas, you always can do that. But don't think in a reverse system where you're going from a small canvas to a big canvas. Always imagine you're working on a bigger canvas. And that's it from my end. Thank you, and I love you too.
Thank you, Mehek, for this insightful presentation. Also, for the people tuning in, please do ask questions in the pop-up banner on your right. Now, a presentation by Wilton Pangoria, Category Manager, Mobile Workstations on HP Tools for Creators. Over to you, Wilton.
Thanks, Ron. Thanks for the quick introduction. So, am I audible? Okay, great. So, thanks for the quick introduction, Rohan. So, I will not take much of your time. So, let me quickly jump to the presentation what I have in my showcase. Hold on. Yeah, so I represent a brand called HP, and within HP, Z represent the mobile workstation category, a mobile workstation or a desktop workstation. So these are the high-end devices wherein which is specifically designed to suit creators or the applications which is there for designing, which is there used by the creators or the creative workflows and so on and so forth. So let's see what we have in portfolio. So we invest a lot of time and a lot of energies in inventions, the latest inventions, what we bring to the IT market, what we bring to the IT platform. So quickly, let me run through the inventions what we have done or innovations what we have done in due past on the due course of time. So we are the world's. This is the world's first single source remote workstation solution. So we all are working from home. We are working remotely. So this is a remote collaboration tool, which is very much appreciated by the media houses or media and entertainment companies. And recently, we also have won the Emmy Award for this solution, which is remote collaboration solution. We call it as Z Central. On a second in a row, we also have, latestly introduced a VR headset, virtual reality headset, which is the highest resolution right now available across all major vendors, which is 2K per eye, which is also available in India now. So this is again one of the innovations from IT from one of the leading IT company, which is HP. Then we also have introduced a wearable PC for the first time, the PC which you can wear over the shoulder. So if you are someone who into content creation for the game, who are gamer or who are into defense or security or the aspect wherein a lot of motion VR or a lot of motion calculations are required, this is the tool what you should be using for. So as I said, we are there very cautious about the creators and creative field and the guys who are into workflows of creativity or have got a workflows which require color critical application. We have got a fantastic monitor which is Z27X, which is a Dream certified, and this monitor we have created in collaboration with DreamWorks. So this is specifically for media entertainment, the guys who are into color criticality and the workflow require color critical applications. So this can reproduce 2 billion colors at the same time. This is also 4K high resolution certified, and this is also as Adobe RGB. We have also recently introduced the mobile workstation, which is a 15-inch screen size, the world most powerful mobile workstation, a thin and light mobile workstation in 15-inch form factor, which can house a GeForce 2080 graphics card or RTX 5000, which is 16 GB dedicated graphics. And at the same time, if you are someone into content creation or virtual reality or data science, then we have got a most mobile workstation, which is most powerful, which can house along with Xeon processor, which can house 128 GB of RAM and 16 GB of dedicated graphics. So if your workflow includes 4K color rendering or cinema 4D, or someone who is into data science, simulation, computational fluid dynamics, something all that sort. So we have got world most scalable or most powerful desktop workstation. We call it as Z8 G4. Someone into AutoCAD business does not require that kind of computational, or someone of very small footprint desktop workstation. Then we have got world's most powerful mini workstation, which is Z2 Mini G4. So let's see quickly on a AV what we have got as a complete portfolio. So as a HP, we have got a complete solution since the inception of the concept by scribbling or scratching over the mobile workstation up to the printing or developing a prototype over 3D. So that complete solution for your workflows is available within HP as a complete spectrum. So quickly, let's see through a portfolio what we have in mobile workstation and desktop workstation. So if you see on my left, there is a product called ZBook Firefly 14 and 15. So if your workflow requires a 2D and a lot of mobility. So these are the product for Firefly 14 and 15, which is 1.34, which starts at 1.34 kgs. But someone who are into 3D or data science, or someone who is into content creation for VR, then you should look for a product called ZBook Fury, which is 17, again 15-inch form factor and 17-inch form factor, which is highly scalable and scale up to 128 GB of RAM or 16 GB of dedicated graphics. But someone who's into entry level 3D graphics, or someone who's looking for a best cost versus performance, a lot of computational requirement, not that much graphics requirement, someone who has got requirement for 4G dedicated graphics and so on and so forth. So the product what we suggest, those kind of workflows is ZBook Power. But someone from a creative field, a color criticality is an application, at the same time is looking for a uh, stylish looking, thin and performing notebook, then you should look for a product called ZBook Create and ZBook Studio. On desktop portfolio or desktop workstation portfolio, we have got something which is called a Z2 Mini and Z2 SFF. This is best designed for entry 3D, but at the same time, if you are someone who is into data science or 4D or advanced visualization or computation, then the product which is called a Z6 and Z8 is ideal suited for your workflows. But if you're looking something on best cost versus performance, entry 3D, then the product what we suggest for this kind of workflow is Z1 and Z2. But for a creative workflows, the workflow which requires a lot of animation, a workflow wherein animation or video shooting or video editing is an end product, right? So we suggest a product which is called a Z4, and Z4 is again the highest selling workstation on this earth. We have also introduced a product which is called as Z Central 4R, which is high density solution for this field, and this is the product which recently have received Emmy award. Now quickly let's see what we have for our creators specifically in this portfolio. So great product. For the first time, HP has introduced a mobile workstation which has got a consumer grade graphics GeForce 2070 Super or 2080. So if you are a gamer, if you are someone who is looking for that kind of a graphics, then this product is ideally suited for you. So this has got a bigger canvas. So if you are from a creative field, this can give you a true color, bigger canvas of 15.6-inch screen, world most powerful mobile workstation. At the same time, the world's smallest VR-ready 15-inch platform, and first time the commercial notebook having a graphics card which is 2080-2070. On mobility part, on a thin and light product portfolio, we have got something which is ZBook Firefly 14, which is like 1.34 kgs, and this has got a pro-grade performance and pro-grade graphics with 4 GB dedicated graphics of NVIDIA Quadro series. So it has got a 17 hours of battery life, at the same time very thin and light and very mobile. So when I interact with creators, when I interact with creative artists, when I interact with students, there is a lot of confusion in terms of when we should be using, or they should be using a ZBook or mobile workstation, and when they should be using the notebooks. So here is a quick comparison based on the application. So if you are someone who is into video blogging or you visual presentation or Microsoft Editor, Microsoft Suite or graphics design, photography, then both notebooks and ZBooks can solve the purpose, or notebooks or mobile workstation can solve the purpose. But if you are someone whose workflow is into Cinema 4D, uh, Adobe Substance, After Effects, Premiere Pro, SolidWorks, then ideally you should move, or your workflow requires a high computing device, which is a workstation right now. So somewhere, if you're not using the workstation, your applications are, or your skill set is lagging because of the hardware. Now, quickly coming on a difference between a Quadro series graphics card and consumer and G4 series graphics card. So, if you are someone who is into content consumption, right, not a content creation, so G4s are good to go. So, if you are someone who is not looking for an ISV application, like you are for a gamer, right, or if you are a hobbyist, then G4 is good to go. But if you are someone who is into content creation and looking for a certified device with less failure rate and more pro grade device, then you should look for a graphics which is Quadro series. Now, quickly on, I've created a quick comparison on application, or a use case based what is required at what kind of application and with use case. So, if you're someone into photography, then core count does not require that much if the core speed brings the performance to your workflows. But if you're into videography and if you're using a Premiere Pro or After Effects, then someone then core count plays a number of core plays an important role, core effect. So you can trade off between a core speed or a core count. But if you're someone into 3D modeling, with DS SolidWorks, if you're using, or or those applications, or Cinema 4D, if you're using, then your performance will come from core count, and core speed, is not that much required. And at the same time, GPU is of utmost important. So here is a quick comparison. So let me give you a benchmarks on different graphics card on different applications. So we have created these benchmarks. So black bar represent MacBook Pro, which house Radeon Pro Vega 20. Silver or dark silver is RTX 2060. Light silver is 2070, and golden is 2080. So if you see the quick comparison, so if you're using Adobe Lightroom, so it is 20 RTX 2080 is 1.6 times better than your Adobe, better than your MacBook Pro. If you are using applications like Adobe Autodesk Arnold or Blender Cycle, your performance is enhanced multi-fold, and in fact, it is 10 times faster in applications like Autodesk Arnold. So, as I mentioned, the ecosystem. So, we have also developed. I mean, there is an ecosystem which is available for creators or who wanted to work on a larger screen. Because without a larger canvas, the creativity or the creators cannot function, or their workflows are not, supported. So, we have got complete solution on screens, which is starting from 22-inch up to 43-inch. But at the same time, for applications of workflows which is very color critical, so we have also developed the screen which is called as Dream Color. So we have got three models: 31x, 27x, and 24x. So these are screen which is award winning and which is created in close collaboration with DreamWorks. So this can reproduce the 2 billion colors at the same time. These are 4K resolution certified, and you can also do a color calibration real time over the field. A quick details on the specifications. So these can reproduce a brilliant 4K with 3840 by 2160 resolution. This kind of a screen house all the major connectivity ports, USB-C ports, which can transfer your video or power delivery. This is precise and consistent, which use factory color calibrated sRGB and BT.709. So this is 20Z27 4K UHD display. So that's all from HP's portfolio, from HP perspective. Thank you so much for being a patient listener. I am around, or you can drop me a mail if you've got any queries. Thank you so much. Over to you, back.
Thank you, Wilton, for your presentation. Now we shall move into the Q&A session. Mehek, let's over to you.
All right. I'm just going to open up the link. So, awesome. I just refreshed the link. Shraddha asked this question that said that how do you approach or how do you pitch to brands? I think this is a very important question, and it's super cool to ask this question as well, because a lot of us have this question and we don't end up asking it. If you want to work with a brand, I think you need to sort of study what they stand for, what their language is in terms of not just design, but the way they talk to the customer that they are serving. Have an idea of how you want to work with the brand on a project. Like when you're approaching a brand, you must have some plan in mind before you go tell them that, hey, I want to work with you. So have a pitch of sorts. Before you go to the brand with your idea, I would suggest get an NDA in place where your ideas are protected if they don't come to life. Go ahead, talk to the brand. First, get in touch over email, schedule a call. Right now, it's going to be a Zoom call. It's not going to be a meeting. But that should be the process of actually reaching to talk to a brand. Try reaching them through different channels. Maybe somebody who works there might have a connect with the HR or something. So that's how I usually go about it. That's how we approach brands we want to work with. It's easy. It's not so difficult. It's possible. Should I pick another question, or do you want to pick another question?
There's one by Sharad Kumar. What mostly stops us from thinking overboard?
So I think that the reason that we don't sort of think beyond what we are told to think of is because of our education and the way we've been brought up. We have always been told that there's, okay, A, B, and C. But what about beyond that? How do you sort of reach and understand how to make a word out of those letters? And that is something you learn in school with steps. But the process of thinking is never taught to us. It's not taught to anybody. But if you think about it, it's a way of rationalizing all the thoughts that come into your head and putting them across in an organized way to understand which one of them is possible and feasible in the time that you have to present it versus something that might not be possible in the time constraint maybe that you're working with. So when you're coming up with ideas, just write them all. Something might come in use for another brand, if not the brand that you're working with right now, or project. It doesn't even have to be a brand. It could be a personal project as well.
Okay. So Neil has asked another question. What are some tips for freelancers starting out?
All right. This is very important, I think, because a lot of people, like I had this question and it was left unanswered for a good amount of time. I still haven't gotten the right answer, but I can give you my insight to it. If you're starting out, make sure that you're ready to hear a lot of no's before you actually get a yes from somebody. But those no's should not be putting you down to stop creating. I think that is one way of looking at it. Also, you need to have an idea of why you're creating what you're creating. You can't just create abstract art and be like, okay, someday somebody might make meaning out of that. So you need to be clear with your own self as to why you're making something. What's the purpose behind it? If there's no purpose, then it's still art, but you need to sort of understand what triggered something in you to make something. So have a reasoning or a process to sort of reason out your work that you've done and created. Because one thing that when you're starting out to apply to some place, people look at the process with which you have reached the end product. They don't necessarily want to just look at the end product and be like, oh, this is amazing. they would want to ask you the question that, okay, why is it like this? And how did you think of this? So always have a reason to have something incorporated into your work. And yeah, stay positive and keep working hard. Working hard there's no like alternative to that.
So Akansha has asked, how do you keep yourself motivated to create daily?
Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you can't create daily. It's an absolutely okay thing. Even if my profession or my career is to be an artist and a designer, there are days when I will not be able to create, and that's completely okay because I'm human. I can't cook every day. Sometimes I have to order in. So you might want to spend that day and probably watch a movie and like just like sort of recover and like nourish yourself. So I think one thing that is very key is to nourish yourself, not just like with food, it also means your brain. So keep yourself inspired by reading books. Like I have a lot of books that I read, and it just sort of keeps me in the entire zone of understanding what I want to do. Like for the entire Matchbox things that I do, I collect a lot of Matchboxes. And I also have like some of the books that I read, and they are just like here around my working place so that I know that, okay, I'm still in touch with the work that I create and historical references and stuff like that. So make things and don't pressurize yourself to like sort of always keep being productive. I think you should make things without the fear of being productive is one really, really important thing.
So there's another good one. How do you go about becoming a multidisciplinary artist?
Awesome. So that would answer this entire seminar completely. So one thing that's very important is to understand what all disciplines can you dabble with if you're in this particular profession. One thing we need to understand is that you can't be a doctor if you're in this profession. You can't be a cricketer if you're in this profession, but you can be a director. You can be an art director. You can do a lot of things that are in this entire ecosystem of the media and advertising and design world. You can't cross that entire thing, but there are just these little things that you can dabble with. Maybe start interning with a bunch of people so that you get an idea and a taste of what that industry sort of looks like. Because like even within our professions, there are like these very specific larger industries that exist. So intern with an expert to understand if that is what you'd like to sort of dabble with or flirt with. That's a good way to understand it. So you pick the boys you want to flirt with. You don't go flirt with everyone. So that's how I picked what I wanted to sort of selectively do. That was graphic design and direction and art direction. So these are the things that I wanted to sort of constantly keep around me to make something with it. So that's how.
So how many more questions do you want to take? Because a lot have come in. So
wow.
A lot.
People are paying attention, yeah. That means that's
amazing. Yeah. Shivangi has asked, what is your first step to tackling a brief?
This is a very nice question. Thank you, Shivangi, for asking this. My first step is to actually dumb down the brief to a point where if I didn't know anything about design, or if I didn't do like the thing, like my job, if I was somebody who was not related to my field at all, like if I can still understand that brief and if I still don't have any questions, then it's a good brief because it answers like these small, tiny, unsaid things which come up later in the project. So I think the first thing to do is break the brief down in the most easiest way to understand it, because sometimes your briefs can be so mixed up that your deliverables get missed. And I think that is one really important thing. Just dumb it down to the most like molecule question that you can ask, and always ask questions to your client. If they're not willing to answer these questions, means you might be in a bad place later in the project. So this is one way of knowing if you're working with the right people too. somebody spoke about imposter syndrome. It's Akanksha. So breaking free from imposter syndrome. You don't sometimes. Even I've been questioning as to why am I being called to do a marketing. The idea is to know what you're doing best, and that's how you stop questioning where you are and why you are there, and believing in yourself. Very important. Simple and effective. It's just that. Are there any questions that you would like to ask?
Yeah, so there's one. How can designers explore multiple mediums without the approach of mastering any?
So one really easy way of approaching this situation is that to understand that you don't necessarily have to master any particular field, because the moment you get into specifics of mastering something, that means you need to know the ins and outs of everything. And I think it's impossible to know everything about one thing. And it's completely human to not know some things. And what happens is if you apply this philosophy to the work that you create, I'm not saying go headfirst into something that you have no idea of. I think it's fair to have like a slight blueprint as to what the entire project entails. But if you don't know like really specific things about the task, you can always ask people who do that work as a living, for a living. Like if I have to go direct something, I could always ask a friend who's a director, okay, this is the situation. If I get into this problem, how do I solve it? And that's the reason why making friends in the industry that you work in is so important. And creativity cannot exist in isolation. It needs to exist in collaboration and in conversation. And that's how you will grow, and that's how your industry will grow. And that's how everybody will recognize creativity and creative people and the creative industry as something that's powerful and that is a unified force, and we can do something. So that's what I feel.
Okay. So, Mehak, we'll wrap this. Thank you so much for this
Thank
lovely
you.
masterclass session. Thank you all for joining the Homegrown Masterclass session by Mehek, powered by Z by HP and Intel. Hope you all have a pleasant evening, and thank you.